Hello and welcome to the Rusted Brush. Today, I'm going to show you how I made my Grandmaster on Demigryph and how I painted him. This is for my Estalian themed army. Now I'll go into the fluff later on in the end of the video. To start with, let me tell you how I converted him and what bits I used. I got a pretty cheap used Demigryph knight, which is why I decided to make him in the first place. I filed and cut off the decorations on the front of the armor of the Demigryph. This piece of armor in real life is called a paintingwarhammer. I glued some old Warhammer shields on the backplate. For the knight himself, I used a helmet and plume from Steel Fist Miniatures. I'll go over this company's models another time. The flaming sword is from the Warhammer Battle Wizards kit, and the hand is from the pistol from the Empire General kit. I cut it and glued it to the knight's arm. With the model ready to paint, it's time to prime him first. For this, I used Mr. Surfacer Black, and then I airbrushed Badger White primer on the parts of the model that were going to be a lighter tone, the Demigryph and the plume of the helmet essentially. This is going to make it easier for me to paint brighter colors on those parts. I then airbrushed a mix of Vallejo Model Color Flat Yellow with Vallejo Game Color Khaki for the cat part of the Demigryph. Now normally griffins are supposed to be composed of a lion and eagle, but I wanted something different, and had some fun fluff reasons why I decided on a different wildcat. I'm choosing a Jaguar instead, so the next thing I do is I carefully airbrush white in the inner half of the body. This already helps the model look a little more interesting, but there's still a lot more we'll do later on. I also painted the beak with Vallejo Flat Yellow. I switched my attention to the armor portion of the model. Any paint I get on the Demigryph itself is going to be a lot easier to fix now than if I did all those nice details and I get a metallic splotch on the feathers or fur of the Demigryph. To start with, I paint every metallic bit with Broadsword Silver Speed Paint. I really like using this as a metallic undercoat for my metals. I find it helps me with picking out metallic details and controlling where my metallic paints go. This is a leader and a rich one for my army, so I want his armor and mounts armor to be really ostentatious, so it's going to be all gold. The first paint I use on the armor is AK 3rd Gen Old Gold. To add some depth and shading to the armor, I use a wash of Nuln Oil with a little bit of Dragonhof Nightshade mixed in to add a nice dark bluish tinge to it. Once the wash is dry, I brighten up all the raised details with AK Old Gold. I don't want the gold to look muted looking from the wash, so it's important to make it bright. I then brighten those raised areas in a smaller radius with Citadel Liberator Gold after that. And after that, I use Scale 75 Peridot Alchemy on the raised areas and edges of the armor. I really like the metallics from Scale 75, and this helps make the gold really bright. And the last highlight I use on the gold is a tiny bit of Scale 75 White Alchemy to make it really shiny and bright. Now for the sword, pistol barrels, and shield, I want these to be steel, so I start with painting natural steel from AK. They are then highlighted with AK Dark Aluminum. This is my preferred recipe for painting armor and weapons. You can always add a wash of Nuln Oil if the area has recesses and some more depth. With the metallics all painted up, I start painting the small details like the glove, bags, and pistol grip with Army Painter Hardened Leather and Dark Wood speed paints. The plume of the helmet is painted with Blood Angel's Red for a nice vibrant red. I go back to painting the body of the Demigryph. I start painting the Jaguar dot pattern on the body. For this, I use a very fine detail brush and paint small dots and more rounded squares as well. The squares sometimes have dots in them as well. This isn't going to be 100% accurate to a real-life Jaguar, as they tend to have more spots on them. I thought this would look off in this scale, and make them a little bit more distracting. Sometimes it's good to know when to make a compromise when you're taking inspirations from the real world. I then use a wash of Sepia Seraphim on the Demigryph. Some of the excess of the body I wipe away with tissue. While I wait for the wash to dry, I highlight and paint the gloves, bags, stirrups with AK Leather Brown. The beak of the Demigryph gets painted with simple coat of Averland Sunset, and then I paint the eyes Abaddon Black. I highlight the plume with Mephiston Red from Citadel using the airbrush version of the paint since it's thinned down already. I paint the claws with Ivory from Vallejo Model Color. I paint the feathers on the head with AK Off-White and shade the lower parts of the head with Sepia Sephiroth. The model is so close to being done, but I still have a few things to do. The main thing is the flaming sword. I chose to make it green, as I think orange, red, and yellow would blend in with the rest of the model, and I don't think it would make for a good contrast. I painted the flames with white ink to start with to help make it easier to paint the brighter tones of green. I use AK 3rd Gen Dark Green as the first green and to be the base coat for the flames. All the raised areas of the flames are then painted with AK deep green. I then highlight the edges with AK greenish white. Depending on the look you're going for, you could leave it here and it would look okay. To make it really pop though, I use AK enamel fluorescent cream. What makes this paint great is that since it's an enamel wash, you can use white spirits to easily control your placement and to fix any mistakes you can make. While I waited for the enamels to dry, I decided to paint Vallejo khaki on the squares of the Jaguar pattern, and paint black dots in the middle of them. I noticed that they were a different color on the Jaguar, and I wanted to fix that on the model. Lastly, it was time for basing. Like the rest of my Estalian army, I wanted to paint the rim with goblin green from coat to arms. I needed to use a few cuts of this for a full coverage. I then added some summer undergrowth from Army Painter and added some tufts from Gamer Grass using PVA glue to adhere them. Then I brushed PVA glue to the rest of the base and dunked the base in the vegetation mixture from Geek Gaming Scenics. I add a little more vegetation once it's dry, and the model is finished. Here's the little showcase of the model. So in my fluff for the army, this is supposed to be the leader of a mercenary company that is made up of entirely Demigryph knights. All of their Demigryph knights are supposed to be different breeds, which is why I didn't go with the traditional lion paint scheme. They have been to many different regions of the old world, but have been recently hired for a campaign in Lustria by my Estalian force. It was very common in the Renaissance period for mercenary companies from different parts of the world to have been with an army for a very long time. And this is what I'm trying to show here. I thought about painting some freehand on the armor, but I think it would take away from the very rich gold look. As you have seen, I also painted some Demigryph knights to join them in battle. I plan to paint 3 more. So with those 3 Demigryphs and the Grandmaster done, I have roughly 1250 points of models painted so far. I'm going to be playing a game of the old world when this video comes out. I'll try and take some pictures. Let me know in the comments if you're interested if I did an after game battle report for the old world. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to see more content from me. I'll be doing a poll for the next video you guys want to see from me. Take care, everyone.